Hi, I'm Keith, and welcome to my art studio, where today I have a very special demonstration for you. This is my battle rhino. Isn't that cool? That is awesome. In this video, if you watch it, and you should, and subscribe, I'm going to show you how I did this, all my tips and tricks, and how I design my monsters. So thanks for showing up. This video is a little bit long, but I'm not going to apologize for that, because when I watch these demonstration videos, I want to watch every nook and cranny that the artist does, everything they do, so I can learn from it. And recently, I've been on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram, and I've been watching some other artists, and I've been stealing ideas left and right. So I would even say some of the ideas in here I stole. But this is my sci-fi fantasy battle rhino. And this picture turned out better than I thought. I had it planned out ahead of time. I wanted a rhino with a headgear, and I wanted to put some elements into it, like some jewels and some metal, and I wanted to have multiple eyeballs. And if you look to the right, there's 3 eyeballs, and there's one main eyeball. So altogether, he has, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, so he has 8 eyeballs, so he can see everything. So I started off with my pencil drawing. Now, I started off with a picture I found on Google of a rhino, and it took me a long time to find the one I wanted to use. I knew I wanted to have his head tipped down, kind of like a football player, like a lineman getting ready to tackle somebody. But I couldn't find one. Every picture I found of a rhino eating, his face was buried in the grass and you couldn't see his mouth. So I did the simple thing of when I got my image on my projector, and I'm still old school, I use a projector, I just tilted the image down a little bit to get what I wanted. And it came out just perfect. So I traced my outward image. I didn't put a lot of fill into it, I just needed the basic shape. So the first thing I did, and one thing I do with all my artworks, is I changed a bunch of stuff. Obviously, you can tell, you'll never see one of these things out in the wild. But my art is all about change and making it my own and being very creative. I'm not one of those artists who can just put up a still life and paint a picture of a bowl of grapes or whatnot. I mean, in college, we did that. I mean, the teacher put a bunch of stuff on a table and told us to paint it and draw it, and we did. And that was good for learning, but when I do my own personal stuff, I'm all about having fun. If art isn't fun for me, I'm not going to do it, because I have all kinds of hobbies I could be doing. You know, I write music, I record music, I write books, I've written like 20 full-length novels. But this YouTube thing gives me a great outlet for my artwork, because it's hard to find an audience, especially when you live in a small rural town like I do. I mean, most of the art shows around here, I should just shut up right now, but most of them are like your basic farm scenes, chickens, cows, landscapes, you know, the normal stuff that most people do. And my stuff rarely ever fits into that. I was part of a gallery in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm from Nebraska, I'll tell you, the Cornhusker State. I was in a gallery there for about 18 months, and my stuff really did not fit in very well, so I bailed on it and I got out. I mean, I had to pay for my space, so I don't know if it was actually a true gallery if you actually are just renting wall space, but nobody really seemed too interested in what I was doing, so I just decided to go take my art to YouTube. So thanks for watching this. This video is a little bit long. Okay, so I did my basic pencil drawing, put in all the ideas I had. Now I'm going to my ink washes. In my ink washes, I have that little inkwell thing up to the upper left-hand corner there. I have, all those are filled with a little bit of water, but I put like 1 drop in one, 2 drops in another, so I have 2 different values of gray tones. And I use ink wash a lot in my work. I do the underpainting. I learned that in college. This is called, like, I think it's called grisaille, where you do all your underpainting with your tones, which is an excellent idea because it gets you your values before you add your color and makes your picture look more natural and more 3D. So I bought some pens. I think I'm using a pen there to do some more cross hatching. And cross-hatching, I did a lot of it with pencil, and I'm going in with a pen. I'm adding more cross-hatching because if you do like cartoon work, whatnot, cross-hatching is a huge, huge part of it, and it makes it look very dynamic. One thing I wanted to do here was the hair. The last painting I did, the hair didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I ended up driving to Lincoln halfway through this picture to go buy some white marker pens or white something to try to fill the hair in without making it look too white. So a little later, I have a picture of myself standing in the art store. It's fascinating watching me stand in an art store. But I wanted the hair not to be so bright, the highlights. And if you're into art, you know that the highlights is where we're at. I can always tell an inexperienced artist from an experienced one if they use highlights. If they just skip them, they're not looking at the picture quite right. And I shouldn't say that because art gets a free pass. Any kind of art is awesome according to the art world. But I do find using highlights to matter because once you put your highlights on, your picture pops. And right now I'm in the underpainting stage where I'm not putting any highlights in at all. All I'm doing is blocking in colors, blocking in shapes, and getting them ready for the fun part. This is the work part of artwork. I'm putting the red in here. This little pattern here, people like patterns, and I know that. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to add a pattern here. And I thought about getting some, Celtic patterns. I remember in high school there was a book they had. It was just filled with borders and designs. And I thought, well, I can go online and find that stuff, but I didn't want to get too involved in that. So I went with a simple lattice pattern, and it worked. It added some pattern, some interest. With this little piece of metal here, I stole from another artwork I saw. It was a cartoon picture of a robot, and I kind of observed how they painted the metal. So I used blue and a little bit of reddish pink, and I didn't blend them together. I intentionally kept the colors apart, so it would seem more. I guess I don't know what the word to use is dynamic, but it added more interest to it. Now the horns, I thought I was going to try to mimic obsidian. I was going to look it up, but I never really did. So I think the horns turned out okay, and I keep working the horns. I work it over and over through the whole painting. I eventually got me some white colored pencils, and that worked better than the pens I got, which is kind of sad because I wanted to just use some pens. But I think right now I'm using that white pencil. I think I am. And it worked out okay. It wasn't very bright. I knew I'd like to get some pens that are a little bit brighter. I'll have to keep looking. But the highlights, well, because with the pencil, I'm able to crosshatch with white, which is interesting. It gives an interesting look. And the hair on top and under his chin there, I used the pencil to get just enough highlights to show there's hair there. The last painting I did, I overdid it, because that's a theme with me. I overdo everything. But you can see I put some highlights on the metal, some highlights on the horns, and right now I'm putting some texture on the chin. The texture, those little dots are like, I don't know if they're like warts or zits or what they are, but they add more and more interest to the picture. And I love doing that. This was so fun to do. The cross-hatching around the eyes, the little warts, the little zits, the hairs. I mean, this was an exercise in just having a good time. This picture probably, I'm guessing, took me around 3 hours to complete. In between edits, I would take it to the oven where I would bake the picture and dry it out. Now, right there, if you look at that, that's a jewel. There's 3 jewels on that strap. I learned how to paint jewels a long, long time ago. And they're pretty easy to do, actually, if you do the highlights right. One thing I'm trying to learn, and I've been practicing for years and years, is how to do chrome and reflective objects. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. It's tricky to get it to look just right with the highlights and get the reflections just right. I've done well before, but sometimes I just totally bombed it. So I was thinking about doing chrome for that face mask, but then I decided, no, I'll go with more of a pewter look to it. So it's more of a pewter gray with highlights. And it's not gray, it's actually blue and red. But I like the way it turned out. And I like the textures and the horns. They're kind of cool too. I like that too. And here, I think, what am I doing? More highlights? More highlights. Because this is the part of the painting that's fun. Because once the work is done, you put the highlights on, the picture begins to pop. It becomes real. And one thing I decided with this painting was I was not going to put in the background. I usually do, but I wanted the image to stand out completely. I did not want it to get buried in the background, which I've done before. So this picture in person is awesome. And I hope you're watching this on a big screen TV with some popcorn and some pop, because watching this on a phone, you just don't get the details and all the cool parts of this. So if you get a chance to go back home and put on the big screen, get some friends, order some pizza, put your feet up, and check this out, because on the big screen, it looks really, really, really cool. And it looks good in person, too. So I'm filling this book up with all kinds of paintings, which means this channel is full of demonstration videos. So if you like and subscribe and go through my channel, you can see all kinds of my fantasy monsters. And this is what I enjoy doing. I could probably paint other things, but okay, there I am in the art store right now. That's where I went to Lincoln to buy those pencils and those pens. I came home, I tried the pens out. They did not work that great, so I put them on a shelf, but I kept the pencil. Right now, in my hand is that pencil. I'm using it, I could tell. And I'm putting highlights in, and it looks okay. I mean, I also bought some airbrush acrylics. I bought that because it was already watered down. I realized I could have just taken some acrylic paint and watered down myself, but I thought I'd give it a try. It was $3, and I got my little mini skinny brush and added some more hairs, and just enough to not overdo it. And I liked the way it worked, and I kept that paint. Pardon me. So I'm putting some highlights into the hair. Now I'm adding some color, and I didn't know if I was going to do this or not. I thought I might just keep it more of a gray tone, but I'm sorry, I'm taking a drink here. I added some green just to give it a little bit of color so it would stand out. And that wasn't too bad either. And here I am adding more texture to the bottom. More warts and more zits and more whatever those things are. They're just things that add more image, dynamics to the picture. And I am glad you showed up to this. If you made it this far, you've been with me for almost 13 minutes. And like and subscribe, because I do more of these. I'm going to do a lot more. I hope you learned from it. If you didn't learn from it, I hope you at least enjoyed watching me do it, because this is what I do at Keith Trim Art on YouTube. That's not funny. On YouTube. All right. That's my picture right there. Thanks for showing up, and I do appreciate it.